Hello, Julie. I want to introduce Julie Kasniunas, who is an artist who lives in Beverly Shores. She has the show that will begin August 13th called Nowhere But Here. We are in the heart of the national park. That's where Julie lives. That's where I live. And we are going to share with you Julie's upcoming exhibit at the depot. So, Julie, how are you today?
Well, hello, Suzy. So good to be with you today. I'm very excited to share some of my world with you and those that might be coming to my art show. Very excited about it.
Me too. So what bit you that made you become a painter?
Well, I'm often asked that question, and when I think about it, I was always drawing. I was always making things out of anything I could get my hands on. And I do remember the exact moment in kindergarten when, for the first time, I stood in front of an easel, and I can still recall the smell of the jars of the tempera paint and the big brushes that just let me put gooey color all over a paper. I didn't have that at home, and I thought I landed in paradise. I loved it. And but then, of course, through grade school, high school, Catholic schools, very academically oriented, I was never exposed to art classes. It was all the sciences and math and all the serious subjects. And so, I always enjoyed sketching and doodling and coloring, but never considered myself an artist. It was more like, I'm just a kid, I'm playing around. But, and then, through college, I ended up majoring in elementary education. I became a teacher, I got married, I had children of my own. I honestly didn't think about or do any art for a good 10, 15 years. And it's funny how it all began.
Want to know.
Okay, so, I'm having this busy life. I have children. I'm driving them to every sport in the world. I have a husband. We have a social life. Working on my master's as I'm working full time. I remember feeling so overwhelmed and frustrated. I just knew I had to do something for myself. So the only time I could eke out for myself was Tuesday evenings. So I said, okay, that's it. Tuesday, I'm not driving anybody. I'm not cooking. I'm not cleaning. There's no class. And then I had to find something to do on a Tuesday. So I'm thinking, I'm a tennis player. There was nothing going on in tennis. I'm a volleyball player. There was nothing going on with that. And I saw a notice in the Michigan City newspaper for a drawing class. And this was at the old Lebesnick building on 9th Street.
Oh, yeah.
So that was offered Tuesday nights. So I thought, that's it. That's my night out. And so I started with the drawing class and probably spent the next 3-4 years doing nothing but drawings with color, eventually with colored pencil. And then I was very nervous about painting. I thought, okay, I know there's the local Michigan City Art League. They're all painting away, and I had never had an art class, and I hadn't painted on my own for forever. But I had a friend who lived here in Beverly Shores who urged me to join the Michigan City Art League, and I was introduced to painting, and that was it.
And you haven't looked back.
Yeah, never looked back. So, and it's funny, people ask, well, how long have you been painting? And my pat answer used to be, well, 20, 25 years. And then I'm thinking about, wait a minute, how old am I now? It's actually been 40 years.
Uh-huh.
So I've been at it for a long time.
Well, you are an amazing, wonderful local treasure to us.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I do appreciate it.
So we're going to hear today some information about some of the pieces that you've done. So let me pull up the first one. You leaving the house, leaving your studio, and going off to paint. Am I right?
Well, pretty close. If you look closely at the photo, you'll see a painting is already finished, and I'm dragging it along. And, I wanted to share this photo with you because a lot of people do not understand what plein air painting is. And it's actually a French term for painting in the outdoors, in the fresh air. And I must tell you that it is probably one of the most favorite things for me to do, to actually be out surrounded by something that strikes my fancy, something that I see that is so beautiful that I want to share with everyone, and to just start painting. So many of you might have seen me dragging my gear around looking like this, a little bedraggled, a little insect bitten, a little windblown, but a big smile on my face because maybe I've just had this wonderful experience of painting out. And actually the painting that you see there is a local scene. I think I was along Broadway, just north of the Four Corners. There's a little glimpse where there's a few birch trees. Yeah. And if you angle yourself a certain direction, you could see the wetlands that are far in the background. So, this is a painting, I did, I think it was this past summer or maybe the one before. It's a relatively recent one that I've done.
Tell us about this painting.
This is actually a watercolor that I did inside the studio. So even though I'm an avid plein air painter, I would say still I do more work in the studio than out in the field. And I often am out and about with my camera, just taking photos because, we have these beautiful sunrises and sunsets. And so this was not an exact reproduction of a photograph. Often I'll take a photograph just to remind me of that moment and what excited me and inspired me. And then I put away the photograph so that I'm painting more from my experience, my remembering what I saw, what I sensed. Yeah. And interestingly enough, the camera does not catch reality. I remember years and years and years ago hearing that the camera can capture so many pixels of what you see. And I don't remember what the numbers are, but they were astounding. Something like, if the camera can capture 250, let's say, then our eyes can maybe capture 10 times that amount. And so I always try to remember what I saw versus what the camera shows me.
Right.
So anyhow, this was sort of a loosely done interpretation of a moment walking along a drive.
That's fabulous. Look at this one now and talk to me about it. It feels very emotional to me.
Well, there was one winter day, maybe 10 years ago, where the lake had been frozen over, but there were these rivers of water in between. And it was the most incredible sunset I'd ever seen. And luckily, I had been driving down Lakefront Drive while all this is happening, and I had my camera. I took the most amazing photos. You would have thought that these photos were from the North Pole or the Antarctic. It was, the light was just so amazing. And so I came home and I just had to start this painting right away. I was like pouring through my tubes of paint and thinking, how am I going to capture that color I saw? When you look at the painting itself, it's hard to believe that this was actually taking place in nature, and yet it truly was. And I think you said it looks like an emotional painting to you. High emotion was flowing through me at that time. I was like, oh my God, oh my gosh, I don't believe I'm looking at this. This is too gorgeous. So that's the story behind this painting.
That is a good one. Tell me about this.
This is one that was taken just along a road, a county road. So I often cruise the county roads of Porter County, of LaPorte County, and this was actually in LaPorte County. I can't even tell you the exact road that I was on, but I like to drive around with my gear fully loaded in the car, and sometimes I come home, don't see anything I want to paint. It was just an hour of driving around. Other times something catches my eye or my spirit, and I just stop and I set up and I start painting. And this one just brings me back to that very day. It was like a very hot, late summer evening. And I had hoped to paint by Posey Chapel, which is on 1000 North in LaPorte County. It's a little old-fashioned cemetery. But when I got there, it was boring light, and I'm like, darn, you know, I came all the way out here, and I don't see anything that I want to paint. So I thought, I'm just gonna drive around a little, head for home. And I come to this field, and the light was so beautiful. It was perfect it just caught my eye. So I started painting, and I'm barely into the painting, and I'm so focused at what I'm looking at, I never look behind me. And I turn behind me, and I see these huge black clouds coming at me, and I'm like, well, I still have some time. So I got into my painting, and then all of a sudden the wind just started blowing so strong, and all my stuff starts getting blown around. And luckily I had set up my painting right next to my car where I had the hatch open. As I'm putting the last stroke on my painting, it just started pouring. So the first thought was save the painting. I throw it in the car, got oil paint all over the back of my car, but the painting was safe. And by the time I was done packing up the rest of my stuff, I was totally drenched, but happiest could be because I got my painting.
What a great memory. That is fabulous. Okay.
Well, that's the fun of plein air painting, because everyone has a story to it, you know. It's not the same experience when you're painting in the studio.
So I'm assuming, but I don't know this to be true, that this one was in your studio.
Well, let's take a look. Yes, and probably much of my art career was spent drawing and painting flowers. I'm an avid flower gardener. I just that's my second favorite thing in the world, gardening. And right outside my studio, I've got these 2 sliding glass doors, and right in front of the windows there, I have a great perennial garden, and so I often draw the flowers that are in my garden. So these are, my daylilies, and this one is watercolor. I do oils, watercolors, acrylic, colored pencil. I like all the media, but this was one from my garden.
Now talk to me about this. These are wonderful creatures.
They are, and those of us that live in this area, Beverly Shores, we're probably the biggest sandhill crane fans in the world. Because every spring we get this wonderful flight of thousands and thousands of sandhill cranes migrating over, and their call is such a unique cackling sound. It just makes everybody happy and smile and dash out of their houses to look up in the sky and see them passing.
And listen to them. They talk.
They do. And they're so loud, you just can't miss it when they're flying over. And luckily, we have had several pairs stay for the whole season in Beverly Shores and have their young.
Meaning through the winter. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, but I mean, in the past, they never stayed here in the summer even. They would just fly over us and go north. So I think just in the past 10, maybe years or so, they decided this is a pretty good place to raise our young. So I know so many of us love to go out there and take a look at these magnificent birds. And so, of course, I've been to the Kankakee area. There's a platform where you could observe these birds in great numbers. And I also discovered driving around the roads, rural country roads around here, you can often find these birds like right along the roadside close up. And so I have a great collection of photographs of these birds. And I have to tell you, so I have this big collection of photographs, and I have to tell you, I love this painting. It's one of my absolute favorites. And I worked really hard at it, and I got the colors just perfect. They're this beautiful tan and brown. And I finished this painting and I got a little nervous and panicky. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Why is that?
Are they really this color? Because I'm like, I remember seeing them flying overhead. They look like whitish with a little bit of gray. How come these are brown? And I'm looking through my photos and I'm like, here they are. I've got brown ones. And so I did some research and I discovered that it depends on what they're eating and what is the water that they're hanging around in. And we have a lot of oaks that give off tannic acid in the area.
Right.
And they turn color. They turn brown, and they turn this beautiful, lovely golden brown color. So then I thought, good, I don't have to throw this painting out. This is how they look. But I also have a picture, another one in our collection that I sent you, that shows them in their white form and the light gray form. So, yes.
And here you are painting someplace else.
Yes. And as an ending thought, I was going to say, so you've seen some of the work that is done nowhere but here, but I often go to places far from here. And so you might find me painting in Greece, in New Mexico, in Florida, and I'm here painting the Chama River in New Mexico. So some other time, maybe you'll see some of those kind of things.
That's great. Which you have just outside of your house. And there's that beautiful natural garden. And windows in your studio look out at this every day. No wonder you do such beautiful paintings.
Yes, this is an early spring garden. I would say, looking at it, probably April. Oh. And I just love how every day it changes, and there's new things popping up, and different colors. And I must say, I love to do the flower painting because it gives me an excuse to get into these amazing colors.
Yes.
The purples, the oranges, the reds.
And you teach in your studio, I've heard.
I do. I have a couple of groups. One is a more beginner group, and one is a group that has changed through the years, but the core of the group has been with me now for probably 8 years.
Amazing.
So, some of them are just quite accomplished, beautiful painters, and we have a great time together. And then I also belong to a group of plein air painters. And we go out starting in April, and it goes through the month of October. Every Thursday there's an opportunity to go to a different place to paint with a group of other painters.
Fabulous. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us. And I want to encourage everyone to come on August 13th to Julie's opening at the Depot in the heart of the park.
Oh, great talking with you, Suzy. Hope to see a lot of you at my show. I'm really looking forward to meeting you and seeing you there.
Oh.